Welcome to the Stocks on the Rock Show. Whether you like it neat, on the rocks, chilled, or warm, everybody's happier when there's money in their account and a drink in their glass. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Stocks on the Rocks. Today we're doing a couple of viewer requests, and our viewer request today, number one, is to talk about McDonald's. What is McDonald's stock doing? Where's it going? And number two, we're going to talk about TinCup. Thanks for joining us, Stocks on the Rocks, the show where we analyze a stock while we drink a cocktail, talk a little bit about both. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. If you're a returner, hit that like button if you enjoy the content. Helps the computer to know that people are actually watching and paying attention. And if you've got a stock that you'd like us to analyze, do me a favor. Put it in the comment section down below, or a drink you'd like us to talk about, put that in there as well. So let's go ahead and get rolling. Starting with TinCup. So TinCup is an interesting, it's not a bourbon, it's not a rye, it's an American whiskey. It's a blended whiskey. And this is designed to really, echo the tin cups that the miners drank out of. This is a Colorado, from Breckenridge, Colorado. It's a distillery in Breckenridge. And it is really designed to echo the tin cups that the miners would drink their whiskey out of back when they were looking for gold. As a matter of fact, it comes with a little shot glass on the top that you can use as a nice measuring glass on the top. Now, this is an 84 proof, so it's a little bit of a lighter one. Tastes like a pretty young whiskey. There's not a lot of meat to it, if you will. Very light in color. When you sniff it, you kind of get a hint. I think a hint of like a black pepper flavor, and then some of the citrus maybe. So think about black pepper and citrus, but it's very, very light. When I drink it, it's the rye spice, right? Because remember that rye and bourbon are very different in that rye is going to have a lot spicier notes to it. So this has the spice of the rye, but then it finishes with some really nice kind of cinnamon and caramel flavors. So the thing about this that I like is that it is sweet afterwards. It's a really good sipping whiskey, and you don't need to put this over ice. Some of them you got to put over ice to kind of open up. This one is one of them that I don't even have to. I know we're Stocks on the Rocks, but I can do this one. I can do this one neat. Doesn't necessarily have to be on the rocks. It opens up and gives me some sweetness right in the beginning. So if you're looking for an easy to drink, fairly smooth whiskey, I think this is a good one to do. It's actually aged in some oak barrels that are charred, and then it's a blend of Indiana high rye and then a bourbon. It's an Indiana high rye bourbon, and then a Colorado single malt whiskey. So there are bourbon notes in it, but technically it's not called bourbon because it's a blended whiskey. But their claim to fame is that it's cut with Rocky Mountain river water, right? So it's the Rocky Mountains that they give it its smoothing flavor. So if you're interested in one, I think this is a good one to get started on. I talked about Basil Hayden's in the past as an entry level bourbon. To me, this is along those lines. It's a good smooth one, entry level. It's not going to be harsh, that anybody can drink. So we'll continue to sip on our TinCup while we talk about our stock of the day. And our stock of the day is McDonald's. Now, I am probably one of the few grown men in the world that still love McDonald's. I mean, I love McDonald's. It was my first job. My first ever job was in Bentleyville, Pennsylvania, working at a McDonald's, and I loved it. Absolutely had a great time. And while I was at McDonald's, I ate pretty much everything they had there. And the menu has essentially been the same forever. But if I think about McDonald's, then their business and what they do, everybody knows what McDonald's does. But when I was a kid, McDonald's had very simple, competitive landscape. It really did, right? It was, you go to Burger King, you go to Wendy's, you go to Pizza Hut, or you go to McDonald's, right? McDonald's, when I was a kid, was a kid's restaurant. It was a kid's place. Heck, anybody remember the McDonald's characters? Man, I love those things. Ronald McDonald and Grimace and Mayor McCheese and the Hamburglar, right? They were awesome if you go back to them. But times they are a changing, and as we get to the point now where less and less Americans are cooking at home and more people are busy and they're working, McDonald's is in a brand new landscape. And whereas they used to compete with a fairly small amount and a fairly narrow band, they now compete with a lot more, right? Starbucks, Chipotle, Panera, Chick-fil-A, all of these big names, even a food truck, right? There's food trucks now everywhere you go. McDonald's has a lot more to compete with. So since they've got a lot more to compete with, they've had to kind of figure out what are some of the challenges that I run into in a business. Now, not only are they running into the businesses of the competitive scape, but now they also run into, Americans are generally trying to be healthy. And I say Americans, it's really all over the world. McDonald's is global, but we're generally trying to be healthy, right? Keto friendly. I want to be gluten free. So McDonald's is struggling a little bit with how do I answer the call for those while maintaining strong same store sales. Another challenge that McDonald's faces is frankly in its workforce. The McDonald's workforce, I remember when I started at McDonald's. Now, once again, I'm old and I walked up the hill both ways to school in the snow. But I remember starting at minimum wage and staying at minimum wage for quite a while. Most people start at McDonald's at minimum wage. And McDonald's is designed to not necessarily need skilled workers. Well, there's a huge push right now for a $15 minimum wage. And what's that causing McDonald's to do? Well, it's not causing McDonald's to shut down, and McDonald's isn't going to let it eat into their profits. So what they've done is they've really answered the call and said, okay, how do we get higher margin items into our restaurants so that we can offset this higher cost of labor? And so you see that the McCafe launched, which happened a couple of years ago and now has gone basically company wide. Was the challenge to do that, right? The McCafe Land brand was designed to really say, okay, Starbucks is popping up on every corner. How do we compete with Starbucks? Now, I think people that are Starbucks customers are not saying, oh, I don't need Starbucks anymore. I'm going for a McCafe. But what McDonald's did was it put a very high margin menu item that allowed it to eat into some of its competition. Change the look and the feel of their restaurants so that they're no longer just a kid's place. I dare you to go in and find a picture of Grimace or Ronald McDonald. It's just not there anymore because they've completely rebranded and changed that image. Well, the other side is that while they're looking for higher margin items, they're also figuring out how do I use technology to better my results. So if you go into most McDonald's now, maybe not all of them, but a fair amount of them now have self-serve kiosks. And as people are looking for higher wages and higher amounts, then they're being replaced oftentimes by these self-serve kiosks. Now, the benefit of a self-serve kiosk obviously is cost, but the other one is what they have found, and McDonald's has found that they have a new way to upsell their customers through their self-service kiosks. When you think about an upsell, if you go to a restaurant and somebody says, "Would you like guacamole with that?" Then that's an opportunity to upsell. Well, that relies on a person to ask, "Would you like guacamole with that?" And at McDonald's, it's always been, "Would you like to supersize that?" Right? And I think they took that out of their vernacular. But it is, do you want to add fries? Do you want to add a drink? Would you like to add chicken McNuggets? Well, people don't always do that, but computers do, and they're seeing that there's an increase in same-store sales from that piece. So all of that is really great on the innovation that McDonald's has done. And what that has led to is over the course of the year, they are up significantly, right? McDonald's is up about 18% in the year of 2019 up to this date. They're up about 18%, and they've been doing very well and very strong. However, they did just come up against a little bit of some bumps in the road. Now, those bumps in the road, it really started with Wendy's. And this was very recent, just in the past few days. Wendy's came out and said that they're going to start doing breakfast. Well, that breakfast initiative for Wendy's made Wendy's cut their price target and revise their projections. Nothing hurts a stock worse than revised projections for the year. Well, McDonald's took a little bit of a dip on that. And if you look at this weekly chart, it's clear to see where McDonald's is in this weekly chart. And this is an important view. And what you can see is that on the weekly chart, they've come back down to their 20-week moving average. McDonald's is still above its 20-week moving average, but there is a fair amount of demand down below current price. And it's fairly far below current price, somewhere around $190 a share, I think is the best accumulation point on this chart as a longer term investor. When I look at the daily chart, an interesting picture regarding those moving averages, McDonald's has fallen below both its 20 and its 50-day moving average. Now, falling below both the 20-day and the 50-day moving average in the same week is a fairly big deal, but the key thing to consider here is that it has fallen below those moving averages on increased volume. So what does that tell me? Are we seeing some profit taking in McDonald's, and people are bringing that stock down and they feel like it has a better opportunity to come down in the near term? So my overall outlook for the near term is I still am bullish on McDonald's overall. However, I think we could see a fairly substantial pullback, giving you an opportunity to buy at a lower price. So if you understand options, this gives you a really good opportunity. By the way, if you want to learn more about options, go to tradersarmy.com, where we talk a lot about how to utilize options. This could be an opportunity to potentially maybe sell a put. So if you like that 190 area, maybe sell the 190 puts a little bit longer term and use the premium from those 190 puts to buy some calls above current price if you think that there's still bullish upside potential, and if you're comfortable owning the stock at that 190 area. It's a real good way to enter and execute a trade without taking a the full exposure that the stock provides. So hopefully that's an idea, something that you can think about. But what are your thoughts, right? Leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you think about McDonald's over the next 6 months. Also, if you've had TinCup Whiskey, tell me about TinCup. I'd like to know your experiences with it, where you've done it, what you've done with it, what you've seen. If you have a stock you'd like us to analyze, do me a favor, put that in the comment section down below. A drink you'd like us to talk about, put that in the comment section down below. And I hope you guys all have an absolutely amazing week. Until next week, cheers.